Hello Internet, I'm Mango Thunderslice. Today I'm going to be talking about the CIA, LSD, and the USA. And so basically, this is, there's so much stuff going on, it's almost like if you don't respond to every single little news item, it's like you almost get left behind, but a continual theme I keep noticing is that people in general are just totally clueless. There's people who have a semblance of what's going on and who have informed themselves on, how the world really works and geopolitics and all that. And they get called conspiracy theorists, a term that the CIA invented after the Kennedy assassination. And, so basically there's the majority of the population who still, at least somewhat believes the mainstream media, the legacy media, all these pundits on TV and these columnists in the New York Times and, all these people, they just, they assume that it's in the media and it's correct. And I think that, again, people, they need to understand the full context of what we're dealing with if they're going to have any hope of actually dealing with it in an effective way. And that includes understanding that the intelligence agencies of the United States are not just engaged in foreign lands doing spy shit all over the place, but one of several of the most major programs the CIA has implemented have been in the United States on American citizens, specifically with chemical warfare of all different kinds. CIA has been drugging people and poisoning people in 1,000 different ways since the 40s and 50s. Okay, so, and the reason this is important is because as a result of what the CIA has done to the American people, by and large, do not possess the mental capacity to actually understand the trap that they're in, the labyrinth in which they live. Okay, so I guess just going back, I mentioned in one of my other videos the Trump versus the CIA, the grand conspiracy, just some of the shady stuff that the CIA has been engaged in. One of which that is a big one is MK Ultra, is their mind control program, and how they used various different psychoactive substances, not the least of which LSD, acid. Basically, they gave it to lots of people inside the United States, sometimes suspecting, sometimes unsuspecting. They dosed a whole bunch of federal agents just to see what would happen. And, this is all declassified at this point. You can go look this up. This is not this is not some theory of Mango's. It's so many things have been revealed, but, because people don't hear about it, the media doesn't latch onto it like it does, any of the asinine stories that they, are constantly screaming about. People don't hear about it, and so they don't, to them it doesn't exist. But, so, many of the major cultural operators of the 60s, specifically around San Francisco, actually in some form or another were involved with the CIA. So Ken Kesey and the Merry Pranksters, for example, the electric Kool-Aid acid test. Ken Kesey, who first took acid, he was given it to him by the CIA in their chemical warfare testing program. And they had all sorts of CIA agents out in San Francisco in the 60s just dosing all kinds of people and seeing what would happen. And Jerry Garcia, he was even approached by the CIA. There's a lot of different people that in one form or another kind of were attached to these kind of occult organizations and secret societies, and a lot of them were indirectly affiliated with the CIA. Stanford gave out a lot of acid before California made it illegal in 1966. Stanford had been given grants by the CIA to conduct LSD testing. And basically, where I'm going with this is that there's a major cultural operation underway, and it's been underway for decades. And I'm a millennial, okay? My parents were hippies, and some of them went to Woodstock, and the CIA was the ones who distributed LSD at Woodstock, okay? And the question, naturally arises, I'm sure, in the minds of many of you is why, okay? What the hell is the CIA doing releasing psychedelic drugs in the population? Just for what, shits and giggles? Like, let's just see what happens when we dose a whole bunch of people with acid. But this is the point, is that the CIA is not just involved in spying on foreign countries. They are a mercenary force for hire for the elite banking cabal. They're kind of like the military wing of the Illuminati, if you will. They do all kinds of stuff for the purpose of transforming the larger society and preparing it for the changes that those entities would like to bring about. Okay, so America, especially the West Coast of America, the Wild West, okay, is one of the closest modern examples of an anarchic society where there is no real centralized authority that's controlling everything. And of course there was a federal government, but for the large part, the development of the American West was pretty much, it was an independent affair. It was the sheriff as the highest authority, and it was the town, maybe the state, but it was decentralized government. There are other examples of civilizations, today and in the past that were anarchic by my definition. An example of anarchy, the Celtic societies of Ireland and Scotland for thousands and thousands of years. The Highlanders in the east, and there's the Highlanders of the west and the Highlanders of the east over in Southeast Asia, who live, the highlands connecting all the Southeast Asian countries, Cambodia, Laos. They live in an anarcho-capitalist society right now, but they're not exactly an example of the modern world. They're just kind of living up on the mountains. The point is that America was something really special, okay? Not just the Constitution, all that stuff, but America was a strong society, okay, coming out of the 19th century in the late 1800s. There was a lot of freedom, and it's actually specifically the freedom of money. Money was stable. It wasn't Federal Reserve notes like it is today. It was real money that was backed by gold. And it had tangible value that was stable. And that's the best thing for workers in any age, is stable money that, when you get paid, you get paid. You don't get paid in funny money that just evaporates, as you're holding it. So my point with this is that America was a strong society, okay? It had a very powerful foundation, and that foundation was the family, it was the town, it was the individual, it was all three of those working together to be resilient, both on an individual and a collective level. And the thing is, that structure, that natural organic structure is so strong, and it's very hard to crack, okay? It's very hard for other people to come in and impose their will on a group of people that have a very strong sense of family and community and individual resilience, okay? So this is where the destabilization of society comes in, is that there are people, very powerful people who want to see American culture transformed into something that can be controlled, okay? They don't want American culture to be strong and resilient and resistant to external controls. They want pliable individuals who will receive the program through the TV, through the newspaper, and they'll just implement it. And so, it's not to say that, they gave everybody acid and all of a sudden everybody's a mind-controlled idiot, but in a general sense, it's about removing the value system, or at least altering the value system of the society. Okay, and this ties into the general cultural Marxist trend, right? They've been systematically destabilizing the American family, the American town, the institution of the local church, and just all those little organic structures. They want to go away, and they want to transform society in a new image. Okay, and part of that, at least in the beginning, they were researching LSD as a way to achieve that change. Dose, and it definitely works. Okay. LSD definitely puts people in a state of mind in which they will fundamentally question all of the programs in which they've been operating on, for better or worse. And so, of course, that led to a huge cultural movement, a huge cultural shift centered around San Francisco that echoed across the whole nation, and of course Woodstock out on the East Coast, and So they were playing around with it to destabilize the country. You know, there were a lot of changes in the 60s, the whole sexual revolution, and there was the Civil Rights Act, and so a lot of the welfare programs came into being, like the Great Society. So of course the welfare, is another program that's meant to be a surrogate for the family. You don't have a mom and a dad, you got a baby mama and an absentee man, and you got the government welfare to pick up the slack, which is the golden chalice of amazing policies to the liberals and the left and the progressives. But what that ended up happening is completely destabilizing the American black family, primarily the American black family. Now everybody's on welfare, but abortion too, that was not the 60s, but 1971, right there at the end of the 60s, basically taking away the structure that had the organic conservative traditional structure, and I'm not necessarily arguing that one is superior to the other. Okay, I think that people have come to some very profound conclusions while under the influence of psychedelic drugs. But this is the thing, it's not just about transforming everybody's mentality, it's about transforming enough people so that there is now a schism. There's the people who are conservative, military-minded, traditional Americans, and then you got all these hippies on acid, like running around naked and like having sex and with everybody and protesting against the war. So again, it's not just about convincing everybody, it's about creating this dialectic between two opposed aspects of society. And my point with this is that we are dealing with the consequence of that schism. We are the children of those hippies, of those veterans, okay? And we're dealing with the second and third wave after effects from these cultural interventions. And of course, it's not like the CIA just stopped intervening in the culture, okay? They've been continually playing this game the whole time and managing public perceptions of government policies. Two of the most influential books of the 21st century. One was 1984 by George Orwell. The other was A Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Both those guys were connected to the elite banking, ruling class, as we're calling them, and they had inside knowledge of what was actually being built. Those books are not fiction per se; they're almost a forward-looking, kind of prescription for society according to what these people wanted to do. Okay, in 1984, a lot more people are familiar with that one. Basically it's this technological dystopia. There's cameras in the television that's watching all the people in their homes. And of course, what do we have today? All those internet connectable TVs, they have cameras. They can be activated remotely. Anything with a microphone, anything with a camera that is connected to the internet can be and is remotely activated. And the NSA, the CIA, they turn it on and they watch and they listen. All right, so super creepy, but that's what's up. So 1984, we got this technological society by which everyone can be monitored and their thoughts controlled and policed. But also in Brave New World, it wasn't so much about the technology, external technology per se, about internal technology, drugs. They give everybody drugs to make everybody think that they're so happy, and dealing with hard or negative topics just disappears from the society because everyone's in happy la la land and drugged out all the time. And look what the society that we live in. Everyone is so drugged out. It doesn't matter what the drug is, whether it's alcohol, whether it's, I love, I like alcohol, I like cannabis, I like all this, all the psychedelics. They all got their place, but we have a society that is incapable of dealing with difficult actions or difficult subjects of conversation because they're all drugged out and they don't want to feel the negative energy, okay? So they're basically brainwashed in this cult of positivity that's not even necessarily always positive, but it's always easy to understand. And that's the thing. They've generated a society through all these different means of simple-minded people. who, just basically, they will only accept the narrative that they're given, and anything that veers too much outside of it. And I've seen this a million times, having high-level conversations with people, talking about conspiracy-type stuff, and I can see it. This self-defense mechanism, this program activates in their mind, and they reject the information that I'm giving them. They attack it. They attack me, the messenger, as if I just insulted them or something. And this is, really it is. Basically what they do is they get people in some way just addicted to their own comfort, whatever that may be, whatever the drug. They don't even have to necessarily even be on drugs. So the CIA basically introduced LSD and all these different drugs into the nation. They've been bringing in the cocaine too. They were moving the crack. They were moving the heroin. And they incapacitate the people of the United States by getting them all addicted to drugs. And, a person who is addicted is not capable of mounting a serious resistance to, say, imperial policies. It's more important for them to sustain the addiction and stay comfortable in a chemical sense than to actually take any action that would put that supply of dopamine or whatever in jeopardy. Okay, and so the CIA, for example, released LSD into the population to destabilize the social fabric of the nation in order to bring around these societal changes. But what they didn't expect was that these psychedelics would actually lead people to a more profound truth than the CIA was even necessarily aware of, and that that revelation on an individual level would actually lead to unintended consequences, which they they did not want. That people would not just lose their concepts of monogamy and patriotism and all these different things, but that they would tap into source energy, that they would find something deep within themselves that was not just some subjective woo-woo nonsense, but a very profound seat of the soul, okay? That, these substances, of course, are correlates of the ancient body of Christ, the Eucharist, okay? Magic mushrooms are in their natural form. LSD is an extract of the ergot fungus. It's basically another type of psychoactive fungus. And, they counted on people losing their moral bearings, when it came to traditional mores. But what they didn't count on was that people would actually become enlightened, for lack of a better term. And I'm not saying that LSD makes one enlightened. There's plenty of people who have taken acid that are not enlightened. But there are some people who used those substances as the shamanic tools that they were given to us by God for. They came to an understanding of their self on a very deep level that all of a sudden became the master key that opens up all the secrets on this dimension. And that sounds like some woo-woo talk, but I'm telling you what, is that the CIA, they realized their mistake, okay? They they spent a whole lot of resources after that trying to deal with the consequences, okay? They had to assassinate certain people that they had, that they were using to distribute it. Like John Lennon, he was one. Okay, Jimi Hendrix, he's one of the 27 Club, Jim Morrison. A lot of these guys were involved in occult societies, and, they were involved in these CIA drug programs. But, I'm going to make more videos about this, but basically this is just kind of an overview of what the CIA has done with LSD and to the people of the United States, and really just understanding that we're dealing with the after effects of mind control perpetrated on the American people on a mass scale. Okay, so we need to not just be left versus right and feed into the dialectic of attacking one another, but to really try and bridge the divide and find that conversation that allows the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere to talk to one another again. We have people that have been lobotomized, okay? And what a lobotomy is, literally, is they cut the corpus callosum, which connects the two hemispheres of the brain so that the two hemispheres of the brain cannot communicate with one another. That is what lobotomized means. Okay, the left wing are right brain dominant. The right wing is left brain dominant. The people on the left, they literally do not respond to facts and logic and linear thinking and points of proof. Okay, it's like it just water off a duck's ass. It goes away. It doesn't stick. Okay, and then you have people on the right side of this political spectrum, and they are very much, in tune with what makes sense, what is logical, what is right, what is correct, profit, okay, numbers and, profit and loss and all that. But the people of the right wing have a very hard time feeling a genuine sort of empathy or compassion for other people and just the general plight of the human species. And so the left wing is angry at the right for not feeling, and the right wing is angry at the left for not thinking. So, this is really, if you want to know what the real conspiracy is, the real scam that's being perpetrated and has been perpetrated on all of us, is that they have lobotomized us. They've gotten us dominant on one hemisphere or another. The vaccines play into this. The drugs, the shitty food with all the chemicals, the aspartame, the MSG, all right? All the vitamins that are chemical vitamins that don't absorb into the body, they just calcify the pineal gland. The fluoride in the water, okay? All these things the CIA developed in their chemical warfare program, and what do they all do? They nullify the brain's ability to talk between the hemispheres. They calcify the pineal gland, which is the physical correlate of what they call in the East the third eye chakra, which allows the two eyes can merge into one, and the two hemispheres can speak to each other through one voice. And that is where the psychic powers come from, is simply the natural state of human perception when the hemispheres of the brain are aligned and talking to one another, and you can take in all the information, not just the logic, not just the perception, not just the sound and color, not just the numbers, but all of it. Okay, and so we will break through this program. We will achieve a utopian perfect society in this century. We will be able to live happy lives, but we've got to recognize that the true struggle is inside. It's inside our minds and inside our hearts and inside our souls, and that we must individually come together, learn to balance the hemispheres. And when you do that, you will be able to talk to people in a compassionate way and a logical way. You will be able to communicate your message to anyone, no matter what their persuasion is. You will be able to identify it and connect with that and impart the information. So that's what's up. This is the True Jedi Revolution, brought to you by Mango Thunderslice. Of course, it's not mine. It's all of ours. I'm just playing my own little role in this great play. This was world stage. All the men and women are players, and all of this is just one big world stage. So that's what's up. Big topic, kind of all over the place, but I'm going to continue with these videos. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know if you got any thoughts. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.